Hello there, this is Oblivious Alsk back with Science or Not, the show where I talk about science or not. And we're going to make a few changes. First, no more bandana. Second, lab coat. Another one, I don't know. Do you think bad lighting? Let's switch scenery. Take the computer. I think we'll go upstairs for the rest of it. There, I think that's a bit better. We have lighting, a computer that does not bounce because I'm not sitting on the thing that it is sitting on, and we have a creepy eye back behind me. Beard type thing. Let's make the majority of this show about bacteria. Great topic for a first episode, eh? First story of the day. Apparently, NASA has discovered a new kind of bacteria in a lake known as Mono Lake, or One Lake. I don't think they were too creative with that. What is there, like a 2 lake and a 3 lake and a 4 lake and an etc. lake? Which looks awesome, by the way. That is near a volcano, which means there's plenty of deadly gases and compounds and more fun things like that you'd find in a regular amusement park. So automatically you would assume there was no life in the lake, correct? Incorrect. Apparently, this specific life form, this bacterium, likes to eat arsenic. Arsenic munching germ. They're all like, nah, nah, nah. Sounds pretty epic to me. Normal life is mainly composed of elements such as carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus. Theory is that if DNA is made up of these main 6 elements, we should look elsewhere in the universe only on planets with these 6 elements to make up what we know as DNA. However, if we look at these new bacteria NASA supposedly found, they like to eat arsenic. This could redefine life as we know it. Apparently, their DNA was specifically made up of arsenic, with the theory that DNA can also be made up of other elements such as arsenic. We can start searching into other planets, perhaps getting a bit lucky with other organisms that have weird, to us, DNA makeups. I can just see people now. The arsenic aliens are attacking. Don't let them put their arsenic anal probes in. That was just weird. As cool as this is, there seems to be some scientists poking holes in it. Does that remind anyone of a book called Deception Point? As they always do. They said that NASA's team's testing on these microbes was very flawed. The test that NASA had done was to starve the bacteria of phosphate, which is what many organisms use for a food source, and they give them a healthy dose of arsenic, whatever a healthy dose of arsenic is. The problem with these tests was that they weren't done in a very controlled environment, meaning that other things could have happened, other variables could have come in and disrupted the order of the experiment, and when things are done without perfection, that it is hardly big news. The team that is challenging NASA in this, the one that's making all these arguments, suggests that the article should never have been published. However, I say all the power to NASA, but only with the outer space related stuff. Leave what's on the ground to those who aren't trying to shoot at the stars. So I think moral of the story is do tests, document them, bring in some real scientists, and then make claims. Next on the list of the bacteria frenzy, a specific new kind of bacteria called... actually, it doesn't say what it's called. 12 new different types of bacteria were found feasting, as they normally do, but this time not on arsenic, on the Titanic. On the Titanic, of all things, we're discovering new bacteria. These bacteria like eating iron. Titanic fits the bill. With these new developments of bacteria that have been formed, they start eating and turns to rust, the Titanic will be gone within 15 years. Leaving nothing but a rust scar in the middle of the ocean. Sadness. Moving on, but this time on a lighter note. Some Japanese scientists, oh, you Japanese and your epic groundhogs and your insane soft drink advertisements, have figured out how to make E. coli, drumroll please, So no drum roll. It's epic enough as it is. To solve Sudoku puzzles. Sudoku puzzles solved by bacteria. For those of you who have tried to solve them and failed, you may now rest easily knowing that a type of bacteria that is not that different from one that digests your food is smarter than you. Next thing you know, they're solving Rubik's Cubes. New topic in an epic voice of epicness. But this time, we're talking about a discovery made in a different part of the Orient, specifically China, not Japan. Archaeologists have found a bowl of 2,400-year-old soup in Xi'an near the Terracotta Warriors. You know, those guys made out of clay that are guarding whoever. Hundreds of them behind each other. Basically, a whole bunch of clay men buried underground with a bowl of soup. Now, it has been stated that this specific bowl of bone soup is not edible anymore. Well, big surprise. Bone soup. Sounds very crunchy. Sounds very delicious, doesn't it? Actually, you know, one time I had some fish that was marinated in veal bone marrow. Pretty good. Something interesting, though, is that when an emperor is buried, they have all their slaves and belongings buried with them to accompany them to the afterlife. Whichever emperor this was, I'm too lazy to look up which one it was. Didn't like his cook. Moving on. As one final subject, there has been apparently the oldest living organism ever found, still alive in some salt crystals. It's 34,000 years old and was pulled from beneath Death Valley. Isn't it ironic? Death Valley, oldest living organism. Anyway, but what is this oldest 34,000-year-old organism? That's right, you guessed it, bacteria. And not just one, a lot of them. A lot of them were dead, but there was still quite a few that survived in a hibernation state. And for those of you who are worrying about those sci-fi movies where this old virus wakes up from hibernation and destroys all life on Earth. So the research team that had discovered these, which was actually a graduate student trying to get his PhD, said that these organisms, although still alive, were just basically like they were waking up. Not all of them really came to life and started eating, reproducing, doing things that living organisms do. The ones that did are still alive. They've been living for 34,000 years in hibernation. Imagine waking up after 34,000 years. Yeah, I said I'm just going to go take a nap. 34,000 years later. What time is it? What day is it? What month? Year? 34,000? I am 34,000 years old, man. I don't think the bacteria talk like that. If you stayed awake, imagine how many Botox injections you'd have to get in order to actually keep your face in one place for 34,000 years. I believe that concludes all of the interesting science stuff I've found over the last month or so. If you'd like to hear or read any more about these stories, you can either send me a text or a video response, or just read the links in the drop-down bar below. Also, if you'd like me to talk about anything related to science or not, just send me a link or a video response or something like that, and I might actually end up putting it up in the show, whenever the next show may be. Until next time, this is Oblivious Elsk, signing off. Well, hey, what about a Batman thing for the outro?